This is a Pages of Hackney event recorded on the 23rd of June 2022. It was our absolute pleasure to welcome Sheena Patel and Sophie Heawood to discuss Sheena's amazing debut, I'm a Fan. Sheena Patel is a writer and assistant director for film and TV who was born and raised in northwest London. She's part of the poetry collective Four Brown Girls Who Write, and her debut novel, I'm a Fan, has just been published by Rough Trade Books. The chair for tonight is Sophie Heawood. Sophie writes for The Guardian, Observer, Sunday Times and Vogue. Sophie now lives in Hackney, East London with her daughter and their dog Chips. Her best-selling memoir The Hungover Games was published by Cape in 2020 and has been optioned for TV. If you would like to buy I'm a Fan, please head to our website pagesofhackney.co.uk, where you can buy it for collection or delivery nationwide.
I promised a riot. Riot. I am so excited. It's such a cliche, but you haven't been touring this book for that long, so I can say, Sheena Patel, I'm a fan. Who's read this book? It's amazing. Yes, Emily's read it. Babak's always doing like a halfway sign, sort of half and half, more than half. I will try and talk about it without giving away any big sort of plot spoilers. The most obvious thing in the world when a woman writes a novel is to ask if it's based on her own life, and every page of this I became obsessed with knowing, is this her? Is this what she's like? And I was like, no, you can't ask that. And then I thought the book is also very much about someone who obsessively follows people on the internet and knows every tiny detail of their lives. And I was thinking, well, who are these people and should I stop? I was thinking I could become as obsessed with her and pursue them on the internet, pursue who these people might be based on. And I find the book becomes this incredible trap where you read it going, this person is delusional, this person is doing this, and I want to do it too. It really, it has this amazing sort of velocity that pulls you in. Was it... I know that writing it was quite a sort of... It wasn't a straightforward process for you at all.
Well, actually, no, it was.
That's not what your publisher said.
Well, I mean, the writing it was fine.
Yeah.
But it was the editing it and the editing of it was intense. But it just, I think if we did this over 2 years, I think it would have been fine. But we got it out very quickly. So it was a very intense. I mean, it's an intense.
How quickly was the whole process?
14 months.
But weren't you sort of keeping it secret from people in your life? You did it really privately.
Yeah, I did it really privately.
So how many people knew that you were writing a book?
Will and Nina.
Who published it?
Yeah.
You didn't tell anyone else?
No.
So were you getting up at 5 a.m. because you had a day job as well?
Yeah, so when I was in prep, which is that you're in the office, but we were working from home, so I'd get up at 5, write for 3 or 4 hours, and then work in the office, which was my bedroom, but then skive off as much as I could if the impulse was there. It was it felt easy to write, but I think it was the shaping of it that was difficult, and it was the more finding the form of it, because it was so bulbous in the writing process. So it was actually finding the shape of it was the thing that felt hard. And also, tested me, Will and Nina. But I think we'd come out of it the other end.
Am I right in thinking that initially you were sending them bits as you went along?
No, I sent them 2 bits.
Right.
And I sent them 2 bits, and then Nina and Will were like, there's a book, if you will help you, we'll publish it. And the shape it was in, I was transcribing YouTube videos and things like that. So it wasn't. I was I can't even remember who they were, but there were these 2 kids that, not even kids, they were men, but were going into Trump's camp and just finding out, asking them questions that sort of revealed how ignorant they were. Yeah. So I was just transcribing videos like that and putting them all together and describing memes and kind of trying to capture the internet in the writing. So it was really rough, and if you gave it to a publisher that didn't have the foresight that Nina and Will did, they'd probably be like, what the fuck have you sent me?
But I think it still has presumably those transcripts have gone, but it has trace elements of memes. Lots of the chapter titles are, some of them will be familiar to people. They're the words from memes that have done the rounds. And some of, what the world of Trump and his supporters and the sort of fabrications they were getting into, that has definitely all fed in.
Yeah.
So was it that you had to sort of shove it all in first and then strip it back?
Yeah, I didn't discriminate as to what, and Will was was an amazing editor in that he was just like, just go as dark and strange as you want. And I didn't discriminate what I was putting into it. So it was more like a dream or like an art project in that sense of like, I'll just associatively write what I want to write, and then the form will come afterwards. I mean, I don't really give a shit about spelling or grammar either, which I know Nina drives her crazy. But like, but I don't care about that because it's the feeling, and then all of that stuff you can put in after. I feel like all the commas and the I put melanated. I don't even think that. I don't know if that is a word, but like I like. But like it's just like, and like but like TEW. Like I just tried to put the voice of the internet into it as much as possible, and didn't really give a shit about like the rules of English.
Did your publishers strip some of that back? Because I feel like it's pretty well spelt. No. Mary White. What really interested me, because I suppose what I was saying at the start was it just pulled me in with this really hectic kind of, what to me was very manic energy, but you have had to be very disciplined because, just to recap, you had a day job, so you were getting up at 5 a.m. to get a few hours in before the emails and life hits you. How was it sort of a fever dream? Because to me it's just in this amazing sort of almost dreamlike state, combining the discipline of getting up first thing in the morning and clearing your head and just doing it. How does that work with it being in such a sort of suspended place?
Well, I just thought to be totally frank, I was, 2020 was such a shit show, and I felt so like my life had stopped. I couldn't go out, couldn't meet anybody, like even romantically. I was like, how does my life move forward? What will I have? I have nothing to show for 2020. Something, I have to have something to show for this year beyond, me and growth. And I was like, it has to be, there has to be something tangible that I can show to people. Like, I spent 12 months doing this thing, and here it is. I spent 2021 doing this thing. I did it. Yeah. So that's the thing that drove me. And then this voice started to come. It was it felt very normal, and then it just really, there's something came, and it just that I couldn't leave my laptop really. I felt like umbilically linked to my laptop. Because I was like, if it comes and I'm not near it, I'll lose it. So it was only when I really handed it in and it went to print that I felt like, I can go out. Like, I don't have to feel like this kind of, like, I need to just, even if I wasn't doing anything, I'd have to feel like I was near it. And I think I was quite obsessive about the process anyway. But I think because there was this bigger thing of, like, needing to have something to show for myself and show other people that I wasn't, like, totally wasting my life away. And also I felt so out of control because, there were other people, other forces, the government, fucking COVID, telling me I couldn't do things, and like the winter lockdown absolutely nearly ended my life. Like, and that's no exaggeration. It was absolutely horrendous to get through it emotionally. And I just needed, and I think Nina actually saw that and was like, maybe you should do this thing. And it just kind of meant that I could dream and journey and go to places in my head, even if the only place I was going to was my kitchen.
Were you living alone through the lockdown?
No, I was with my family. So I was with my parents and my brother, and so it was fine. But it was just difficult, and you just didn't feel like and being without touch hopeless. And all this stuff. It was really, really bad. It just felt very. I don't really know how the pace got set. Maybe I set the pace, but of like the whole process. But Will would say, "Let's check in every month," and I would send. I was disciplined in that sense because they schooled me in how to like do the process of the writing.
I need to move to
So I'd have a check-in with them, and then they would give me notes, and then I would be on set, and it would be that kind of thing.
What, you'd be sneaking a look when you're on your day job?
Yeah, it got like more like towards Christmas. It was quite a lot, and I felt quite burnt out. But it was the book was it was like having a child. It was, I mean, obviously not having a child.
You were sort of gestated.
Yeah, it was just like the most important thing, and the book was like the most important thing. It just became the centre of everything.
What was the reaction of your family or other people in your life when you said, "Oh, it's going to be this hardback book," and oh, look, it's on the, Observer review, and it's the front window of foils, and has that been quite a shock to everyone?
I don't know. I don't even think it's really hit me that those things have, like, because the Observer happened, and then the foils window just.
Was it the best? What did they call it? The best novelist of the
Top
coming
10
year?
debut novelist of 2022.
Yeah. Pretty good.
One of the top 10.
One of the top 10. Not
she's the
number
whole-
one
the
of
whole
10. So you'd be fooled by the cover of
Sheena contains multitudes.
But they got announced in the bookseller, and then they got in touch and were like, "Can we read it?" So it was, and I would be like driving to work, and I'd wake up with a massive smile on my face, and then I'd be driving to work, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm so happy." It was so like 3 days. I was all emotionally completely all over
And
the
did
place.
people at work say, "What's up with you? You're a bit, off."
But I think it doesn't. It's not real to people unless they hold it, unless they read it. So it's like, oh, I put a book out, and you're like, yeah, cool. You've got a hobby, like whatever. It's like it's not like nobody really gives a shit. But then when you can say I have a billboard in central London, it's nice to be. It's nice for it.
Yeah.
For it to have been so intense as a process, and for me not even really know that I was writing a book, and for like Nina and Will to have so much trust in me to do it, and also effectively I was as demanding as a child.
Like what?
Just took all their time, took over their life for a year, absolutely petulantly did not give a shit that they had a life outside of me, and
imagine if it hadn't got in the top 10. Imagine if foils didn't stock it.
So, and I'm glad, if those things have happened, I'm glad that that's happened, because it feels like there's like, see, it wasn't, it was painful, but we'll forget the pain.
That is like having a baby.
Yeah.
Do you find though, when you've been in that really intense creative state, some of which is just awful and sort of churning your guts to get that stuff out, and then you keep saying to yourself, well, I'll be done by whatever, I'll be done by Christmas, or I'll be done by June, and this will be done, and then life will be amazing. Did you have the experience that I personally have had, where you come out of it and you go, oh, it's kind of
anticlimactic?
Yeah. Or even a bit sad, or you put a book into the world,
really
and suddenly
sad.
you feel kind of naked.
Yeah. I did. So I handed it in March, and I like walked around the Heath. I've never really been to the Heath properly like that for like 2 weeks. I just got the train.
Was it because you were now an author? You thought you should
I just go to the Heath, darling. That's where you go when you're an author, don't you? No, but I was just like, what's the closest park to me? And I was like, oh, I've never been to the Heath, so I'll go to the Heath because I'm an author now, darling.
Swam in the ladies' pond.
Swam in the ladies' pond. I just wore
off.
my big boots and like walked in the mud and got stuck at one point. I was like, this is embarrassing. But I just was like really sad and like bereft. Like I felt like empty and sad, and I was like, oh, I'm sad. I'll never have to think about this again. Like in this way, just you'd be doing something and I'm like, oh, that should be in it. Or I just said this really funny line. That should be in it. And like that kind of thing where you're constantly making, you feel like you've got a purpose. And I just was like, oh well, I'm just me now.
Does that mean you'll write another one? Surely.
I hope so.
Oh,
I hope it comes. No, I'm waiting.
One thing that particularly drew me to the book was how I feel lots has been said in the past, particularly in the past sort of 5 to 10 years, about sort of women's voices finally talking about sex and telling it how it is, and all this honesty. And a lot of the stuff I get sent as a journalist, like, oh, Sophie, you'll love this. You write about being a single mum or dating or whatever it is. You read this, it's really honest. And I read it and I think, it's not honest, it's quite cutely sort of curated honesty. And I don't personally know if any of us have quite dared say how brutal and transactional, really interrogate ourselves and really get to the truth. And I read this book and was like, oh my God, like somebody went there. It's so the character in it, she's ruthless with herself, and she's ruthless with, you know, she's if anyone hasn't read it, she's sort of juggling.
I ran pages and I was like, I needed 2 or 3 weeks.
This is my French doing. I said, you're gonna fucking love this. She's. I don't know if you want to describe it.
Shall I read the first section and then you get a sense of
do the reading and then shimmy.
Well, I'll read two.
This was probably meant to happen at the start. I just talked.
No, it's fine. We'll do it now because. So I'll read 2 sections and then yeah, you'll get a sense of it. So they're like little internet captions with the titles. So this one's called "Do I?" It's the start. Do I? I stalk a woman on the internet who is sleeping with the same man as I am. Sometimes when I'm too quick to look at her stories, I block her temporarily so she doesn't know I absent-mindedly refresh her page 15 times a minute while Netflix plays in the background on my laptop. Mm-hmm. My stomach flipping sick with delight when her profile picture is ring red. She has tens of thousands of followers, is verified, and is the daughter of someone famous in America. An endless stream of white people fawn in the comments under her posts. She has opinions about household objects which I've never given a thought to before. Firm tastes in the types of beeswax candles to burn. Lays exquisite cloth on her table in anticipation of dinner. Knows where to buy limited edition pottery from well-regarded potters. She will happily spend $300 on a vase where she displays really, really organic fennel flowers, by which she says there is organic and then organic. Buys a $500 ring for herself during a time of financial strife for the rest of the world and shows it off in a selfie. She uses a filter on Instagram which burns up her flaws. It thins down her cheeks and radioactively erases the 2 thick lines shaped like spooning V's which are carved in her forehead and erupt from her face more prominently when she raises her eyebrows. A sick sense of satisfaction rips through me when I see them. She orders takeout from the right restaurants, seems to know everyone in the higher echelons of society, is accepted into the kinds of circles which seem out of reach to me. Sometimes I wonder if I ever met her, what would I say to her? Would I tell her of our connection? Would I tell her I know where she lives? Would I tell her how I guessed that she broke up with her boyfriend? Would I tell her I know why this tone of her stories changed? Because the man we are both sleeping with, the man I want to be with, shamed her for exploiting her privacy the last time they saw one another. Would I tell her I know who her ex-husband is? I've seen his new family and he seems happy now, happier than the photos I've seen of the 2 of them. Would I tell her I know who all her friends are and I watch their stories too? Would I tell her I screenshot the photos she takes of herself and study her face so intently sometimes I fear I've picked up some facial expressions or tonal inflections from her because I listen to her speaking with her father on YouTube over and over before I go to sleep? Would I move in closer to smell her and feel what he felt when he felt her? Would I taste the inside of your mouth to find out what was so compelling? Would I press into you? I want to know exactly how your body moves when you are turned on, to know for myself why he cancelled fucking me to fuck you.
Woo!
Do you want me to read one to three?
Yeah, I thought that's the start, and then I thought we'd read something from the middle. The chapters can be quite short. Snapshots.
So this is.
Why am I crying?
Oh gosh. It gets you. It gets you.
This is called I Can't Even. We meet up in Shoreditch House where I've written up questions in pink biro on a plain piece of paper. I'm interrogating the man I want to be with about us as if I was interviewing him, which afterwards he says is a format he likes. He tells me how funny it is to like 2 women who are so opposite to one another at the same time. It's so funny. I bite my lip because there's actually more than 2 of us and I can't trust what it is I'm going to say. At this point, I'm trying to come across as chill, like I'm absolutely chill with everything that is happening because it's chill. As if demanding better behaviour or putting down boundaries will mean that I am not chill and I want to be a cool gal, so I'm without boundaries and watchful instead. We walk to the underground. He tells me he doesn't know what it is about her, but he can't let go. I let the words burn the skin on my body as I mutely accompany his stream of thoughts about her. The things that drive me crazy about her, the things that drive me crazy about myself. She needs to be admired constantly. She needs praise and can't stand criticism. She wants to be seen as gifted and unique. I realise after ripping her book from somewhere so deep from Google, the bots must have commended my IP address for the commitment I showed to finding it, that she is a... We've all done that. That she is a whirling hysterical princess in the same way I am. I expect people to do things for me in the same way she does. She cannot leave her parents the same way I can't. She can't have the man I want to be with the same as me. I'm her bitter and twisted sister. Online, I watched the launch of her book, which she announces as if it's the Big Bang. She is interviewed by prestigious bookshops, gets a spread in print in Harper's Bazaar magazine, does Instagram lives with premium designers, gains 10k followers in a matter of weeks, is reposted by influencers and other big hitters with huge Instagram followings. She has an A-lister post her book on their grid, and she has very recognisable names in her corner of the book world lend her quotes to promote it. I read her prose and I'm not impressed. It's overly wordy, unself-aware, and leaves me with a buzzy head as if I'm in a thick fog. But I see the way friendships with the right people, connections, and a publicist can open the correct doors where I have to bang them down and celebrate the smallest of wins. People who are only figments of my imagination, or else removed by a million degrees of separation, who would have the sort of polite forbearance if they ever met me, because I am a member of the masses, know her by name, greet her warmly. She would be invited as a guest into their home.
Did you, had you been reading lots of stuff and thought, there's nothing out there that describes this age, I'm going to write it, or am I just projecting that onto you? Because to me, I haven't read anything that describes... I mean, if you say something like the Instagram generation, it sounds a bit naff, but I mean the actual Instagram itself, the behaviour, the sort of madness we can all descend into. And, people do all this kind of be kind and be nice to me on Instagram whilst I sort of profit from my life and the whiteness that you investigate. And I sort of, what I got from the book is if you offer up your life to be devoured, you're going to be devoured. Mm. And that's what happens. And we are all transactional in some way. And I suppose we used to have more public space and private life, and now you've got your phone in bed with you, you've got your phone on the toilet, you're constantly socialising through this weird sort of Silicon Valley mediation. There's so much capitalism in, I feel like she's sort of the logical conclusion, the life she's living is the logical conclusion to an age where everything has been grabbed by capitalism. That the way she talks about love and sex and relationships, there's one bit where she says, I see my relationship with him in capitalist terms, like I'm playing the stock market. I throw good money after bad because I've thrown so much already. What's a little more? And later the same page, there's something at the core of me which starts to warp at the fear of impending bankruptcy, grows ugly and distorted every time I slap a hand on the table and roar for what I believe is mine. So there's this sort of greed and entitlement as well. I mean, I just wondered what you felt. Were you very much trying to talk about capitalism? I mean, clearly you've brought it up.
You mentioned it a couple of times. I was watching a lot of documentaries. Yeah. So I was watching a lot of Adam Curtis. I watched Can't Get You Out of My Head, and I love all his documentaries. Yeah. So I've watched a lot of them, but I watched Can't Get You Out of My Head a lot, and I watched Exterminate All the Brutes, and I was reading, I've read Sapiens, even though now I'm reading Dawn of Everything, which is sort of kind of the counter to that, which is really interesting. It's got a bit of backlash. But I read Sapiens and, at the time thought it was amazing, and reading Dawn of Everything now I'm like, my brain has gone equally like bang. And was reading Motherhood, like quite a lot of non-fiction really, and then was thinking about how really, I wasn't intending to do anything. I think I was just thinking about like computers and appetite and how the internet has a mouth, and if that mouth was in your stomach, what would it do to you? And I don't think that's a really strange image, but that was literally what I was thinking. I was like, what if the internet had a mouth, and what if I'm like one of its mouths? And what if we're all one of its mouths? Because it doesn't feel like, I love the internet was this utopian tool, but it's definitely been privatized and like used for profit, and we're the fodder. Our emotions are the fodder for it. And I guess like through the writing of it, it became more about writing the shadow of the internet because the internet, you know, social Instagram is a very happy place full of a lot of achievement and accomplishment, and you at your best when you're achieving things, and it's your greatest hits. And I wanted to write, you know, but the reason why you're fixated on this fucking free app is that a lot of envy and lust and jealousy drives that. You know, the likes, are they likes like with your full heart? Is that a full-hearted like? You know? Wow. So I was thinking, you know, are those hearts hearts, or are they like... So I was thinking about that, like how, you know, and how you get a window or like a glimpse of a life that you would never really come up against. Like, I'd love a fucking luxury home with like not a lot of shit in it and with very nice luxury goods in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd like whatever the fuck, like mid-century furniture in there and like nice white wallpaper. I made like a painted wall, you know. How do you know how to do that? And I think that's the fixation. It's like, how do you know how to do that? And why can't I do that? And then that somehow taps into your femininity as well. It's like, why can't I make a home like that? Am I a real woman? And then you feel like, well, I've rejected my womanhood because I don't want to be a homemaker because I want to use my brain. And I don't want to use my hands and know how to make bread. But now I feel shit because I can't make bread and you can. And your man is obviously very happy and that's why you have one. And I don't because I can't make bread. Like, those are the thoughts that run through your head, isn't it?
They do.
Maybe he would be happier with someone who could cook. I can't cook. She learned how to cook over lockdown. And what have I done? I've made this like shit chapati. I've started to try and make them. I'm not good at it.
What I loved is when she touches on this thing, and it really hit a nerve with me, in that if you're of sort of loosely our generation and you've, in the early years of your adulthood, you were like, oh, you know, the old ways of doing things are so suburban, so bourgeois. The idea that you'd sort of meet someone, partner for life, get married, try and buy a house in the days when it was easier, have kids, you know, the sort of the order of things that was expected of the generations that preceded us. Maybe at age 23, I was like, oh God, you know, who would want all that sort of bourgeois bullshit? And then the character of the book is at an age where she suddenly gets that pang and is like, oh God, maybe I'm normal, maybe I do want those things. Maybe being left to sort of free will with no boundaries is really painful. Maybe there was a purpose to that sort of more nuclear structure. I think it's quite brave in what is quite a sort of sexy and transgressive book. It's sort of almost the ultimate transgression to say, maybe I did just need like a husband and a house and like a baby, because she's also wondering, and she's getting to that age where she's thinking, well, maybe that's not, you know, like you just said, how do you have it? How do you know how to get those? How do you get the kitchen and the baking and the husband? Like, how do you get it?
But I think it's actually beyond, maybe, but I think actually those things, I wanted to warp them and make them something horrible, like, you know, make the good taste really distasteful. And like, she wants this man, but the man becomes a symbol of access and then tries to grab him, you know. There's something very violent about that, about forcing someone who's obviously showed you that they're not interested into having it. And even though you could look at him and be like, oh, this poor bitch, but actually it's actually quite violent. It's almost without consent to force, I want this to happen, this is happening, whether you want it to happen or not, whether, you know, whatever your wishes are.
But he's choosing to fuck it. He's a married man with another girlfriend and he's choosing to get her to come to a hotel and a sort of booty call.
Maybe, but the thing that I wanted to focus on was like the objects, and how the objects then stand, like the doors stood in for humans, for access, and like how the objects stood for taste and class, and how you can feel like, you know, your context is like, Viennetta was like the epitome of luxury for me. Like, I was like, fucking made it. We've got Viennetta in the freezer.
You haven't got to that bit.
But like Viennetta and Argos and, you know, Argos jewellery was like, oh my God, I wish a boy would buy me Argos jewellery. They never did, but I wish they did. You know, I wish I had a boy that could buy me Argos jewellery. But like Argos jewellery to me was like, wow, you like fucking made it.
But maybe that catalogue was the Instagram of the age, you know, the Argos catalogue. But you flicked through every night and sort of coveted.
But I don't even think it's that. It's like the things that form your your vocabulary, for the objects that you surround yourself with, and then that becomes like how people interact with you. It's like, oh, you've got these things, you know, like you can't have a shit car in the front drive but a fuck off house.
Right.
And even if you are in that shit car, people will still know that you're wealthy. And how do they know that? Because if I wore the same thing, they would know that I'm not. And I was kind of interested in like how wealth or class are communicated, and how, you know, she becomes this symbol of this highly curated.
This is the woman that the character's obsessed with, who's very white Instagram,
very privileged,
influencer. But also sort of talks about the roots with no understanding of
like land. And you know, you have those narratives about land and about gardening and about preservation, and it's often white people telling you about those things, and it's like, guys, I hate to break it to you, but you're not like reconnecting us to this. You're the ones that fucked it up. Like it's really, and then you're lost, and it's like, what is familiar? And I was quite interested in like the romance of concrete and like shit high streets, and I was kind of thinking about like the texture and the taste and the smell of things, as much as it is about like this core relationship or like this non-relationship really at the center of the book. But I really wanted to, I watched, it's kind of an old film now, but like Under the Skin, and like when I watched it in the cinema, and one of the characters says, he talks about like the Tesco car park, and my brain just went exploded, because I was like, I'm in a high-end film that's kind of documentary, that is kind of film, that's set pieces, and now he's talking about Tesco. I was like, I've never ever heard a film mention Tesco before. I don't think I've ever heard a film ever say Tesco before. And I was just blown by that, and I thought with this book I was like, I want to put Argos and KFC with the RCA and the RA and the Tate and art, and mix all of these references together, and it kind of write it like a film, so that time doesn't matter, structure doesn't really matter.
Sort of scenes. It's
just scenes and like beats, because like that's really what life is. And then you like look back and you're like, well, that meant that that happened, because that meant that then I could go and do this thing. Like, you create the narrative of your life. Really, they're just moments. So I wanted to kind of echo that in a book. And also that's how my brain works, so it was convenient.
So do you think, I mean, I feel it has a plot and a pulse, and I wanted to get to the end of it and find out what happened, as well as just enjoying lyricism of the sentences deeply. But did you have bits in different order? Did you find the sort of thread?
It was in whatever order. It was just written.
Yeah, but you didn't write it in the order that it is.
No. Me and Will put it in an order.
Yeah.
And then we developed some bits, and obviously some bits got cut, but it was a constant going over and like layering meaning or imagery or strangeness into it. And
you think your years of work in film helped sort of fed into that?
Maybe only in the sense of like scripts are something I read, or every day, and they're conversations that you have every day. So like you'd have the director, and the producer being like, what scene can we cut? What beat do we need to get? What scenes can we merge together? And even when you're shooting it with shots, you're thinking about what you can lose and what you need to get, what you need to cover. So maybe I was thinking of it like that, like, oh, I did talk to. I didn't really feel like it needed to happen where she met the woman she's obsessed with, but I did play with that idea of like, what if she met her? What would she do? She'd kill her, and then I was like, well, then that's the end of it was kind of boring. Like,
did you go down that path, like write scenes where she kills?
No, well, I thought about it, and then I was like, if I write it, I might frighten myself, so I didn't. I didn't write it, but I was thinking that could be one way to go. Like, if they, and I did really grapple with like, should they meet? I didn't know if they should.
Yeah, well, people don't know what happens.
Yeah, so. But I did think about whether or not they should or shouldn't, and then I was thinking,
you feel their lives sort of
come together.
They're getting closer.
Yeah, and then I thought it was maybe better the way it was. I tried to give it a Sopranos ending. Because I watched The Sopranos over lockdown, and I was like, oh, a cut to black would be sick. So I did the same thing with a dash.
Did you always know that it would be in the first person? So the characters are called things like, she also has a boyfriend in all this, by the way. My boyfriend, the man I want to be with, his wife, the woman I'm obsessed with. There's the Peach, his work colleague, the Peach. There's also a story there. Did you know it would be this sort of anonymous?
Yeah. It could just get, that first bit, it just came out. I was like, oh, what should I? It was like, bam, like the woman I'm obsessed with, the man I want to be with, the peach. They're very like, it was like my brain went blank and I was like, oh, that's what they need to be called. The only things I really messed around with were some of like the more side characters, like, you know, the one she gets the dog from, but like it was just that I kind of played with, but everything else was very much like something else made the decision.
What I loved as a reader was feeling slightly unsafe throughout. So there's one bit she goes to borrow my doggy to borrow a dog, and I've put my dog on borrow my doggy, so I was like, what's she gonna do to the dog? And at first it's like, oh, she's going to walk the dog in the park. And then it's like, oh, she's going to walk the dog in the park that isn't at all where she lives. She's worked out the location of someone she's trying to, part of her world of stalking these people online is in that network. And, oh, and then she's going to, like, work out when the woman and her kid are in the park and sort of get the dog to charm the child. And, like it just, every stage of it, like, it could have gone either way, you know. It could have been so innocent, and then you're like, oh, it's getting, like, you know, she's befriended this child and she knows who they are, and they just think she's this nice lady, and then the family are like, oh, you know, how long have you had your dog? And I'm like, well, she's going to say she's borrowed it, right? She's going to say it. And then you're like, oh God, it's so exciting. It's like a thriller.
Yeah, I wanted to write it a bit like a crime, like a bit of a crime thriller.
It is, because you keep thinking, okay, because, you know, there's parts of you that's so identified, like we have all doom scrolled through Instagram and got obsessed with someone, and there's parts, you know, you think, oh yes, I've done this, and she gets to a certain stage and you think, oh, have I done that?
Have I done quite that?
I've done quite that, but like you say, you know, it could have gone to murder. It could have. I mean, it doesn't. You just don't know where it's going to go. But I thought one of the things you addressed, which is so almost an obvious part of all of our lives, I'm sure, and yet not mentioned, is that we live at a time now where quite often you're introduced to someone and you pretend not to already know everything about them.
Everything about them.
And it's hard, you know, nowadays you can be a complete random at work, but chances are when you're introduced to someone, it's through some connection. The people you're connected to, you've already seen someone's wedding photos, and who's that person they're tagging in all the, you know.
Yeah.
And if you've done some deep dives like I do, and I presume you do.
Well, all of us do.
All of us do. But I haven't seen anyone really admit to it or write about it or cover this huge subject that we sort of pretend not to know who everyone is.
But I think that's part of the shadow stuff, and I think that's what I was interested in that, because I do find it quite. I do it myself, and I find it's strange behaviour to do that. Where you, without thinking, if someone's like, "Oh, there's this person," you're like, "I'm going to Google them," or like, you're just going to find out a bit about them before you meet them. Yeah. And I just feel like, in that sense, you both have control over the narrative of yourself, and also you've lost control over the narrative of yourself. Yeah. And also, like, why do we share things? I don't really know why we do it. Yeah. I don't know why, really. Why do I feel the need to put my face on the internet? Or, like, I don't know why I do it. I don't know if you've got other accounts I haven't seen, but you don't seem to be a big oversharer, plastering yourself around, trying to be an influencer. Like, you're not actually... I'm a meme lord. A meme lord. Reposter. Yeah, reposter. But I don't know why on the grid I'm like, okay, my grid is going to be for like my high points. I do make that decision. That's a conscious decision of being like, I'm going to put work there, like whatever work it is, and that's what my grid is for. And like, it's a very like, I won't put other people's work on my grid. And it's like that kind of, what is this? I don't know what it is.
Portfolio.
Yeah, but it's just like a strange
humble
kind
brag
of thing.
Yeah. But then do you really want to post a photo of you crying and spotty?
But I don't know, but like, I just, it's just a funny thing to, you know, use this amazingly kind of epoch-changing tool for this. In
you
that
mean it
sense.
could have gone in so many other different directions?
Yeah, and I just think, you know, I don't know if we really consented to that. It just kind of happened, and, you know, we do pay for it in the sense of like our privacy is... We've taken away our privacy, and we've taken our privacy away from ourselves, but we seem to be quite happy to do it. Like, no one's really complaining about it.
But you can monetize it. I mean, I write about my daughter and I put photos of her on Instagram, and I know lots of parents who absolutely wouldn't dream of putting their kids' photos on the internet. And they think I must not know the arguments, so they tell me the arguments, and I'm like, no, I know the arguments, I get it. Yeah. I just do it anyway. Yeah. And I have to say... It's worked out for me financially. So, you know, it has. I've sort of
But that
monetized
is
my
why people
child.
do it, isn't
Yeah,
it?
no, I mean, I'm not some mommy influencer at all.
No,
It's not
but
that. But
it's-
I write columns about my life, and I write a book about being a single mum. And obviously, someone who's read the book goes, "Oh, I wonder if she's on Instagram." And then they get a bit hooked because they couldn't see her face in the book or work out her name. You know, you have a burrow around. I do it.
Yeah.
We all do it, and then it leads to them seeing, "Oh, she's writing something else. I might pre-order that." You know, I have monetized it, but it's given my child a life where I can pick her up at school at 3:30 every day, and she gets lots more of me than she would if I was at work till 8. So that's my deal with the devil. But you know, we all do these things.
Yeah,
But what I loved in this book was just, finally, it wasn't about sort of mummies selling their children. But I was like, now we're getting to the language where we can admit that it's transactional.
Yeah, it's transactional. But then all the relationships are transactional. It's not just with the internet. It's like every relationship is transactional. And I think a lot of the relationships we do enter are transactional. And sometimes you make a compromise, I think. And I also wanted to write about like relationships that weren't about romantic love. Like there are relationships you enter because they're safe, and then the relationships that you stay in because they're safe.
Yeah.
And their kind of seductiveness of that, of safety, where none of you is demanded, but you know, you get a little bit of what you want. And even if romantic love is the thing that everybody aspires to, you know, not all of us get it. So yeah, I wanted to kind of include that too, where there's a transaction in that. It's like, well, okay, I'll give up on love, but I'll have a relationship. I'll look like I'm doing well. And
I mean, the sort of settling.
Yeah, whatever that is, it is what it is. It's like, you know, you just make a decision to be like, okay, this person will do. And it's like, when you're talking about our parents and that journey, a lot of our parents made that choice. You know, we're in this place where it's like, we want the best of everything. We want the romantic love. We want
and
the house
sex to last,
and the sex and all of that.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe they were like, no, this is who I'll be with. It'll be enough.
Yeah.
You know, obviously some of us get lucky, but like, I think that there's that one point where you just think, okay, this will do.
Yeah. Do you think they were right to understand that you don't get what you want?
I don't know. No idea. I couldn't say. There's too many people for me to speak for.
I know, but I go back and forth on that. Do you think they were right? Do you think we're all too demanding?
I think, but that's the capitalism as well. That's where capitalism comes in. It's endless choice, and you can get better, and it's where like apps like Tinder and
you can scroll for a
yeah,
show.
it's constantly like you can update, and you know that those ideas aren't just there's no wall that keeps that away from your romantic relationships. And you know, even when the thing that really the reason why I started to write this without knowing that I wrote it was because I saw the attacks on the Capitol, and I was just like, what in the fucking world is happening right now? Like, I don't understand. It's so scary. And like him being on, you know, this brightly lit grounds, and you know, it being out of focus, him being really sharp and saying, I love you, go home. And I was like, and they went, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, we are in the grips of fanaticism, of the sense of like, he can, and only him, they would only listen to him, and they would do it immediately as soon as he said it.
Like a guru.
Like a guru. And I just thought, I was just thinking about all of those things really, about.
But where your character takes that is really interesting, because she, I think this is fully says in the book, she sort of watches that Trump fanaticism, and then realised that when she convinces herself that she's keeps going back to these relationships to get love where there is obviously no love, it's like she's maybe
but it's
in
the similar it's delusion, and it's that sense of like those emotions aren't very far away from how we feel. We can you know, look at that and be like, that's got nothing to do with me, but what I wanted was to bring that much closer.
That's a friend of mine was reading this book, and he DM'd me, he goes, fuck, she misses nothing. It's like, you notice that like it's so easy for us to be like, oh, those Trump supporters, you know, they're so whatever. And then you look at your own life and your own behaviour, and you've got to examine all of it.
Yeah.
And in the book, she realises that the guy she wants to be with, who is white and has quite a revered position in the art world, he's basically says he's getting cultural capital from having this sort of, to him, this exotic sort of brown girl on his arm. But she also gets to the stage of admitting that, you know, she's in it because he's this powerful art world guy. It's not as if he's giving her a great time all the time.
Yeah, but there's something there, and that's what it was. And also it's well, you can't pity her because
she's on the make.
Yeah, because she's on the make, so you can't pity her, even if the whole thing is a bit.
Well, there's huge structural inequality, but she's also, you've shown that everyone's on that journey.
Everyone's on the make
to get up. Yeah.
And also that there's class that separates you. You know, like there's things that you know as a rich person that I will never know. You know, like or.
Well, it's the assumptions. There's people thinking that, you know, here's how I made my amazing life work, and they don't mention that their parents bought them the house. There's all the sort of interrogations of whiteness that go on in it like that. There's all. It's like you just unpick everything. It's brilliant.
Thanks.
Should I be letting other people speak? I don't know how.
Isis is a fan. So.
Yes. I'm a fan.
It's hot, yeah,
I'm a
it's
fan.
hot.
You can have the actual fan. I actually put this T-shirt on slightly by mistake. It says New Labour. You can admire it. Babak there made a very similar T-shirt, which I thought I was pulling out of my drawer, which says, anyone who asks a question at a Q&A should be sent to prison. Sorry, I'm not using the mic very well at all. But would anyone like to ask a question? No prison whatsoever.
Would you like to come on my radio?
Are you sure Jimmy's great?
Yeah, okay.
I had a question before I arrived, and now I've heard you talk, it's slightly changed, but you sort of touched on this, Sophie touched on this earlier, about that you go there. Like, I read, there were so many times where I was out loud going, oh, like I couldn't believe that you were saying what you were saying, and I just felt, was that all in your own brain? Did you talk to like, obviously you didn't knowingly talk to your friends about the book, but like, it just felt like you were representing such a collective conscience of like the real nuanced feelings and thoughts that we all have.
No,
How did that come out?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you.
That's the magic. Sorry, I've just realised I've not been using my mic at all.
I don't know. I don't know. Like there's this artist called Mark Leckie who makes these really like associative films, and I didn't watch his films when I was writing this, but having seen his films recently, I was like, that's what it feels. It's just this dream state. So it was just very much led by her, and also it was like, what would she do in this place? And it was just kind of finding the space in that, and then kind of being shaped and nudged by Nina and Will. But like it was more structural, but like the voice and like the things that were happening. I don't know. I wish I could have a more. But I was just thinking, like, what are the things that are shameful? Where are the places where there is shame?
Yeah.
And what am I too terrified to admit? And I wrote it down.
Wow.
But I was like, if I can scare myself, that's enough. And so I tried to scare myself in it.
Yeah.
That's what I tried to do.
I think hardly any writers properly do that.
Not with their parents still alive.
But then I was afraid of it. I was like, I just have to write, like, if I have to write as if I was going to die, that's how I feel.
Exactly. We need to write that down.
When
Right?
you live with your parents, I was like,
What? And some of this was happening literally in their house, was it? When you were you writing the start of it when you were at home?
Yeah.
no.
Have they read it?
No. They would never read it.
Yes. Question from this lady.
Did you write it with a view to make it option it into a film?
No.
Did you not?
No,
did you like a film?
No, but I did. But it's so.
I haven't read it yet.
It's
So
so.
I'm just literally just curious.
No, not. I didn't even know it was a book.
That voice. That's so interesting. You didn't know it was a book.
No, they told me it was a book. Or they said that you could write a book, so I was like, okay, I'll just trust you more than I trust myself, because I didn't think I could do it.
It's a leap of faith.
For sure, yeah. They did take a risk.
What was your writing experience before?
I wrote a pamphlet with the collective I'm with.
Yeah.
Like kind of prose poetry.
Is that the 4 Brown Grounds book?
Yeah. This upstairs, and then we self-published a book. But then I'd been writing since I was a kid, but like not very seriously. But yeah, nothing like this. Lots of stuff on a floppy disk.
Had you gone to work in film because that was equally a big passion, or were you sort of had wanted to get a writing job and that wasn't?
No, I always wanted to work in drama because my parents really liked dramas. Like, there was a big deal when we were little to watch like Catherine Cookson and like Heartbeat and stuff. So I was like, they like admire that, so I'll go, and I wanted to do something that they admired, but I didn't.
And were they pleased?
Yeah, I mean, it took me many years to get into it and like to try and crack it because it's quite a closed shop. But yeah, they're very pleased now. They're very pleased now. It didn't make a lot of sense for a while, but...
You can carry it on.
Yeah, I'm starting a job on Monday.
Aren't the millions rolling in from your rough trade?
Oh yeah, the millions.
I bet some other people further back have got thoughts. Yes.
Oh, Sharon G.
Yeah. I'm only thinking this because I read a book recently about, and it was all about
Not yours.
therapy. No, but I've read yours. About therapy, and so I just wondered, you analyse yourself, everyone, you analyse dynamics, how much of it was influenced by psychoanalysis?
Oh my god, what a great... Sharon always asks like fucking great questions.
Making a t-shirt.
Tim should go to
Loads. Because I like Jung.
the best.
I listened to this podcast, Sharon, called This Jungian Life, and I love it. It's so great for like understanding dynamics and archetypes and things like that. So yeah, massively influenced by listening to that, and also, you know, being in therapy too, and thinking about like parent-child dynamics, and but also by shame, because I find shame quite a compelling emotion. Because once you step outside of it, so it's freeing, but it can trap, you know, when you're in the grips of it, it's very, very debilitating. And so in part I thought, okay, this voice can be the key to unlock that.
But in ways she's sort of free of shame, because she goes off quite boldly in ways.
But in that sense becomes like the vessel, like the cipher for other people's shame.
Yeah, there's humiliating acts and yeah.
But like I wanted something that would disturb the reader, and like I wanted to write something that would frighten them. Basically, I wanted to write a book that would make you feel a bit sick and would frighten you.
Oh, it did.
And that's because I've read books.
It does.
Like I've read books by like Kathy Acker frightens the fuck out of me, and I was like, that would be like, I read Bloody Guts, and I was like, I was like, what the fuck is she doing now? Like, why is she doing this? And like her writing's so visceral. So I wanted to kind of, but I kind of wanted to do. I
know. Oh no, sorry. If anyone hasn't bought the book yet, it's really funny, and we haven't said that. We've been sort of in the analytics, but it is genuinely really lol.
But I wanted it to like, be scary, but then, you know, the memes and things like that sort of offset that. Yeah. But also just never really have a certain place for anyone to land. So the memes undercut the text undercuts other chapters. I always wanted everyone to kind of be a bit like they were being pushed, like constantly just kind of spun out and not certain. Because I think things like that are boring. I think we've got enough books that are like, well, this is how the world is, and I wanted to write a book that I was like, this is a world, or, you know, I'm not going to explain to you what the world is, I might just show it to you.
It is quite explanatory though. I mean, it does, you know, I look at it and I think, oh, that's what I'm doing when I do that thing. That's what I'm really getting from that. That's my real dirty motive when I behave like that. So it does sort of explain, but it explains our...
I think it's true.
Depravity too.
It's the truth of it that explains, I think.
But it's a behaviour that we all partake in, but nobody talks about. So I wanted to just talk about it because it runs so much of our lives and runs so much of like what we do every day, and, you know, runs how we make money, and runs who makes it and who doesn't, and who get, you know, if you've got followers, then you get the money, then you get, you know, access, you get favours, you get free shit. Yeah. And it's like, who gets to do that? Why do they get to do that? And who gets left behind? Like, we're not very far away from like having personal ratings really, and then that determining what kind of access you have and what kind of things you get to have, because, you know, it's already sort of, it's in some countries I think it's like that, but like it's a very Black Mirror thing. But I don't, you know, we're not very far away from that. People check your analytics. That's how China functions. Yeah, they'll just check like how many followers have you got. So how nice do I have to be?
But in terms of writers getting published, I know people who've gone. This is where Rough Trade are amazing because they don't follow those bullshit metrics. But people who've gone to bigger corporate publishers, they look at that stuff. Yeah, they absolutely go. A friend of mine was told, she says they said to her, you know,
build a following and then we'll think about it.
We fucking love your book proposal, but like you haven't got enough social media followers. And actually, she had a number. She wasn't sort of nothing on those sites.
Send her to me.
Maybe I should. You might love her. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, I
We're
was just
already
thinking...
there, quietly.
Yeah, but that's what I wanted to rip the politeness off of all of it and be like, oh yeah, right, yeah, we're all like on the face of it say that we value what people have to offer on the inside, but actually we don't.
Yeah.
We don't, because there's numbers that run that, and I wanted to just kind of be a bit explicit about it.
I'm so fucking excited. I knew this was a book for you.
I'm literally going to be in the book.
I knew this was a book for you, Shirley. Anybody else want to ask anything? I have no sense of time, so I'm just winging this.
We must be. Let's go to the pub.
It's 8:05. I'm sure we haven't heard from everyone further back who I can't quite see.
No, they're all right.
It's because the psychoanalysis question was so good. It doesn't have to be as good as that. It doesn't have to be as good.
Someone's going to option this soon, though, aren't they?
Fingers crossed.
That's what you have to admit, that you do really want that, because the whole tone of the book is admitting what you really want.
But that makes sense, though, because it's sort of what you do.
It's so of our age. Surely
As you're an
somebody
AD,
wants
would
to.
you direct it? Would you want someone else?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You totally direct it. There's no way you'd give that to someone else.
Should we start
Full control.
Full control. Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it now.
All right, well, I think we'll let you go, Sheena Patel, but you have been absolutely amazing, and the internet having a mouth is an image that won't leave me.
Thanks, Sophie.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you find your podcasts for more literary events like this one. Thank you for listening.